One of the saddest things about our world right now is that it is currently inhabited by billions of slaves. Now, I'm not talking about slaves in the classical sense of shackles and chains and keys and prisons and those big bowls that are connected to their feet. I'm talking about mental slaves, the newest form of slavery. However, there is a way out, and by the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to stop being a mental slave through looking at your life with a stoic perspective. What's up, guys? My name is Isaac, and I help people live and die well through first mastering their minds. There are so many new forms of slavery today. I'm going to give you 5 quick ones. The very first and most obvious type of slavery is a wage slave. Someone who needs to get the next check to feel good. If they don't get that next check, they can't pay for the rent, they can't pay for their car, they can't pay for food, and their inner state, their sense of happiness goes to complete shit. The second state is a substance slave, an addict, someone who needs to drink alcohol, someone who needs to smoke a cigarette, someone who needs to take drugs to elevate their state so they can feel good. The person who's escaping from something. Third form of slave is the food slave. Can't stop eating KFC, can't stop eating McDonald's, can't stop eating all this high fructose corn syrup, spiking their insulin, increasing type 2 diabetes. The fourth type of slave is the dopamine slave. Can't get off the Xbox, can't get off the metaverse, can't stop looking at social media, posting things for that dopamine spike, looking at that OnlyFans content. And the fifth and possibly newest form of slavery is a safety slave who needs big daddy government to take care of them at all times because they're so scared to go outside or to do anything that might impact their safety. They live in a state of fear and need a sense of protection in order to feel good. So many different forms of slavery. They are all mental, all created by the mind. And here is an interesting thing that Epictetus, the Stoic legend, had to say about it. A man's master is he who is able to confer or remove whatever the man seeks or shuns. Whoever then would be free, let him wish nothing, let him decline nothing, which depends on others, else he must necessarily be a slave. What Epictetus is saying there is, if you need anything that's external to you, anything outside in the physical in order for you to feel good, you are a slave. If you need your government to survive, you are a slave. If you need your job to feel good, you are a slave. If you need to smoke to feel good, you are a slave. If you need any of these things that are outside of yourself, you are a slave. If you need to attain a particular goal in order to feel satisfied within yourself, you are a slave. If you need a particular girl to say yes to the date proposition you gave, you are a slave. Any of these things that are dependent on the external that can dictate the quality of your life can make you into a slave. Now, you have to understand, we live in a wonderful time right now. Technology is so advanced. All the foods that we would ever want are right in front of us, clean water. We live in a state of abundance unlike anything anyone prior to us, our predecessors, have ever seen before. And yet our sense of happiness is so volatile that if one thing was to shift from what we ordinarily experience, we can become anxious. We develop stress symptoms. We can get depressed. In that way, we are no different from a slave, because you have to understand that emotions are fundamental. Emotions are the first principles of your happiness. What do I mean by this? Many people, they say to themselves, I want to be happy, so I'm going to achieve this, that, and that to become happy. Perhaps it's becoming some sort of billionaire and buying a private jet, some sports team, or whatever. You know, a billionaire, when he's buying these things, it's not the outside circumstance, it's not these objects that he wants, it's the state, it's the emotion, it's that feeling of, I proved everybody wrong. Take that, dad. Take that, teacher Bob, take that girl who dumped me. There's always something there. Or the person who wants to lose weight. They want to feel healthy. They want to feel that sense of vitality. They want to feel attractive because perhaps they don't feel like that right now. They're chasing an emotional state. So emotions are the base, they're the foundation of everything we look for in life. So many people make the mistake of chasing the outer circumstances instead of directing their efforts at the base, which is the emotions. If your emotional state is always tuned into the negative, anxiety, stress, depression, worry, fear, then it doesn't really matter what your outer circumstances look like. If you become a billionaire and you have your private jet, and everybody else becomes a billionaire and has a private jet, you're not really gonna feel happy, regardless of the outside circumstances, because it's relative. Your sense of happiness really came from your position relative to other people. You needed that discrepancy. That's why if a billionaire moves down into a neighborhood where people are actually more successful than them, they might not feel that accomplished. It's relative. The outer circumstances mean nothing. It's our emotions that are first cause. So if your negative emotions are your default state, you might as well be a slave, a physical slave, cuffed up in prison, being forced to pick up cotton or something. There's no difference because you and that slave are in the same emotional state. This is what Epictetus is talking about. If someone can affect you to the point of feeling these negative emotions, if you need something to happen in order for you to be happy, then you are a slave, regardless of what's going on the outside. So what is the Stoic ideal? The perfect Stoic, the Stoic sage, is one who derives their sense of happiness from within. They are not at effect from the outside world, but they are at cause from their own inner state. What do I mean by this? It means that anything can happen on the outside. Government can be in pandemonium. The economy can go into a depression. The state of the world can look terrible, as it currently is for a lot of people. But their inner state remains intact. It's not dependent on the outside. See, throughout life, we're programmed since birth to respond accordingly to particular events. You lose your job, you should be sad. It's your wedding day, you should be happy. So we're programmed to have particular responses. But when you're a Stoic, the perfect Stoic, you disconnect from these programs and you choose your responses. Something that most people would think is a completely negative situation can be used to your advantage. The example that pops up is Viktor Frankl, locked up in a concentration camp during the Holocaust. Probably hell on earth, the worst situation many of us could ever imagine being in. And yet he found meaning in that, developed logotherapy, wrote a book that sold millions of copies, helped millions. He turned that piece of shit into gold, into diamond. This is how Stoics operate. And you have to start from the most basic things, the most subtle annoyances. Maybe a little noise that you're hearing that's annoying you. Learn to disconnect that annoyance and choose your state, choose to be happy. Or you just got a promotion at your workplace or scored a high ticket client that's gonna take your monthly earnings to the next level in your business. Perhaps you should learn to not be so excited, to control your state. This is how you become the perfect Stoic. You decide what you feel. You're not dependent on outside circumstances. Now, Epictetus said something very interesting in that quote. He says, you must wish nothing. On the surface, it seems that he's saying that you shouldn't aspire to achieve anything. You shouldn't have any goals. You shouldn't try get your business off the ground. You shouldn't go to the gym to lose that weight and build that muscle. But that's not what he means. He's saying that you don't want to be dependent on achieving that goal in order for you to feel that sense of happiness. You see, life is a game. The joy for life comes from playing the game. Playing the game should be your main priority. Whether you win according to societal expectations or lose is not important. You can put your best effort into attaining the goal, but you should be happy along the way. This video might get 2 views, 50 views, 100 views, 1 million views. It doesn't matter. I'm going to be happy creating it because that's part of the process. That's part of this ideal of detaching myself from external results, from external circumstances. Yes, I would love for it to have 1 million views, but it's not necessary for me to feel fulfilled within. Another analogy that might help you is someone who goes fishing or someone who plays golf. Doesn't necessarily have to be like Tiger Woods. They don't have to be a pro fisherman, deep sea fishing, catching orcas or whatever pro fishers catch. They don't have to be like Tiger Woods, the best golfer ever. You can just enjoy the process and allow that meditative state to consume you. That's how you should approach your life and your goals, going through in full control. Now, Epictetus also says you must decline nothing. So what he's saying here is best explained through another analogy. Let's say you're Elon Musk and you want to take a rocket from Earth to Mars because you want to set up your colony over there. One of the biggest problems you're going to encounter is gravity. You see, gravity is not very friendly to rockets. It's going to push your rocket down, keeping you in the atmosphere. But if you're Elon Musk, are you going to complain and bitch and cry and moan about the gravity situation? Or are you going to find a workaround? You're going to find a way to design the rocket to be more aerodynamic, perhaps make the rocket lighter, have less payload, maybe make the rockets more efficient, more powerful. There's all these things that you can do to still achieve your end goal. Now, if we take this example into our lives, gravity might be the annoying coworker you have, the annoying boss you have, the annoying client, your government, anything that's causing you stress. It's gravity, it's a situation, it's necessary evil. These things happen in life. You have to allow them to be, but work around it. Find a way around it and don't allow that thing to affect your inner state. You see, you have no right to judge anything that, I suppose, manifests in life because you're not the creator of life. There's going to be things you like and things you don't like. The things you don't like, just work around them. Find ways around them. Nothing is ever so definite to have to force you to feel any negative emotions. Be the perfect Stoic sage. Choose your emotions. Use the obstacle as the way, kind of like in Ryan Holiday's book. Find a way to turn that adversity into a positive. There always is a way. You just need to look at things from a particular perspective. What always helps me is to contemplate the quote, the ancient quote of be in this world but not of this world. You see, when you meditate and when you work on yourself, you quickly realize that this physical existence is not really all there is. It's unlikely to be all there is. You learn to become one with what, I guess, Lao Tzu called the Tao, the way, the field, this energy, the universe. You start feeling that you are beyond this meat device, this meat machine. There's something about you, this awareness, consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, is greater than your physical body. So you can then become an observer. Then watch your emotions and watch them from a detached place so that you can then choose what you want to experience. A good book on this is called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Very digestible, very easy to understand. But when you come from this place, you remove that mental slavery. You become a free man. Do this, and I promise you'll be one step closer to living and dying well. Thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell notifications so we can see more of each other. Until next time.